Welcome to S7N Celebrity True Crime. I'm Sanique. In part 3 of episode 5 of By Georgia Jury, we'll examine more of the fourth week of testimony. This is day 3. This is a full recap of the events that took place. Bryana Bongolan, a friend in Ventura, took the stand to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. The witness has been told she won't be prosecuted as long as she tells the truth. Bongolan accused Combs of dangling her over an apartment balcony. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this testimony. Frank Pianza, video expert, whose main purpose is to authenticate the tape. He testified that there are no abnormalities in the video footage of the assault. Pianza walked the jury through the video of the horrific assault. He's showing them a stitched together version of all the major events in sequence. While I wasn't privy of his video, I came up with my own version. Warning, this video is violent, graphic, and disturbing. The prosecution filed into evidence under seal 10 sex videos involving Ventura. The footage was taken between 2012 and 2014. And the file is marked Frank Black. That's one of Combs' aliases that he uses when he checks into various hotels for these freak-offs. Pianza's technical display of the footage is a key piece of testimony that focuses the jury on the savage beating against Ventura by the hands of Combs. Now, in the beginning, when opening arguments were taken, the defense tried to refer to Combs as just being moody, a little temperamental. He will throw a tantrum here and there. He could be a little out of control, but they tried to minimize it. This tape disproves that. It shows exactly how violent he can be and has been. Here's more in-depth testimony concerning the freak-offs and the escorts that were involved. Cassie stated that they would find these escorts in various places. One escort by the name of Johnny was found on a website called Latin Men. Another one called Jules was found on Craigslist or Backpage. They would fly him to Miami and Las Vegas and some other locations for freak-offs. And then there was one they found called the Punisher. And actually, Combs' choice of escort were black males with large penises. I wonder why. Ventura also said that she would book hotels under an alias that she used, Jackie Star, and we all know Combs used Frank Black and he also used Frank White. When the escorts would arrive, Combs would have Cassie explain to them that he was into voyeurism, and this was just an experience that they wanted to try out. They would use that story to just make sure that the escorts weren't cops, because they didn't want to get busted. Ventura also said that he had an affinity for baby oil. We all know that with the 1,000 bottles that was found in his home. She said that they would use up to 10 large bottles of baby oil for these freak-offs, plus Estroglide lubricant. Combs would just pour baby oil just everywhere. He wanted them fully covered, head to toe, just glistening with baby oil, shining like a diamond with baby oil. Ventura said the freak-offs caused damage to the hotel rooms. We had heard about that in prior testimony. Linens were stained with oil, wax, blood, and urine. She said that she was expected to do freak offs on her period. She added that sometimes Combs would urinate on her or instruct the escorts to urinate on her. I just can't. She described it as humiliating, disgusting, and overwhelming. There was no conversation. But for him, it was a turn on. Why was he turned on by that? I mean, am I missing something? Why was that a turn on? She described choking due to having too much urine in her mouth. So he would also urinate in her mouth, where she almost choked. According to Ventura, the freak-offs were highly choreographed events that would turn into split sections that, just lasted for a very long time. Sometimes there would be, if they would start, maybe, they'll have a night, it'll grow into another night. And she said she's had various men back to back in the same freak off. And no wonder she kept having urinary tract infections. It's no wonder she didn't get something else. Ventura said that the escort would perform oral sex and then intercourse. Sometimes Combs would join in, and I knew he did. And I don't believe it was just to interact with her. Mind you, he liked black males with big penises for a reason. Ventura said at the end of the sessions, Combs would sometimes instruct the escort to ejaculate on Ventura's body, and then tell Ventura to put the semen on his chest and his nipples. Listen, he wanted to be Cassie and perform with the escorts. That's what I think. You all write down in the comments what you think. That's what I think. I think he wanted to be Cassie. I think he wants to be a bad bee. Sessions lasted several hours. One freak off could, like I said earlier, could just evolve. One evolved into 4 days. Different escorts in rotation, back to back. They would just do drugs and just freak and geek. Just disgusting. Ventura also talked about the various drugs that they used. Ecstasy, marijuana, ketamine. We talked about that. That was one of his drugs of choice. Mushrooms, which gives you a euphoric high, a trip. She said she never wanted to do these freak offs, but she felt like she had no choice, and we talked about that as well. But this is very, very disturbing behavior. Very disturbing behavior. Bryana Bongolan, a friend of Cassie Ventura, earlier took the stand to invoke her Fifth Amendment right. Now she's back on the stand and she's testifying. She's testified that Combs held her over a 17-story building balcony in 2016 before throwing her onto balcony furniture. Bongolan testifies that she has night terrors because of this incident, and she wakes up just in a screaming panic. Ventura mentioned this incident in her civil suit and also testified to it last month. Bongolan testified that Combs threw a knife at Cassie, and then Ventura picked it up and threw it back at Combs. By that time, she probably had gotten tired of all these beatings. She probably started fighting back. Bongolan testified that Combs, high off cocaine, told her he was the devil. Yes, I believe him. And he could kill her. Bongolan testified he dangled her for maybe about 10 to 15 seconds. while Combs yelled, "You know what the F you did." Bolin testified to not having a clue to what Combs was talking about. He lifted her above his chest to hold her against the balcony. Bolin is like 5'1", 100 to 115 pounds, very tiny little woman. She stated she was trying to push him back. I'm sure she wasn't getting any act right with that. He's bigger, stronger, and high on cocaine. So, when people are high, they have strength that they couldn't even imagine. Combs then tossed her on the balcony furniture. Ventura didn't see it, but heard a commotion, and then she came out of her bedroom to check to see what was going on. Bolin testified that Cassie was in disbelief. Now, I would tend to believe that he could have roughed her up and picked her up on the balcony, tussling with her or whatever. I mean, remember, he assaulted her best friend, Carrie. So this is not above him, this kind of behavior. He will put his hands on just about anyone. Combs put his hand over his head. After looking her in the camera, he FaceTimed her, and he was just shaking his head, and he put his hand over his head. And I guess he was still upset over whatever it is that she was supposed to have done, which I still don't know what that is. Maybe we'll find that out. That will come. Bolin testified that the experience left her psychologically just impacted. Bolin sued Combs for $10 million. She testified that she's suing him. She sued him because she wants to get justice. Asked by the prosecution if she could give away $10 million to erase the incident, the balcony incident, she said she would do it in a heartbeat. On cross-examination, now Diddy has a lawyer, a black woman, Westmoreland, that's her name. I call him by the first name, last name, but her last name is Westmoreland. But interesting enough, she is a SA survivor. And I'm like, why are you defending Diddy? I mean, really, ma'am? But I know this is part of Diddy's strategy to get a black woman on his team. I'm just, being real, because he's going to come off sympathetic to, the host of black women. Anytime these black guys get in trouble, and they start doing horrific things, they want to get the cumulative of black women to come and fight their battles for them. But we gonna sit this one out, Diddy. We not coming to your rescue, honey. Not the smart ones. Bolin testified that her and Cassie at the time had really bad drug dependencies. They would take ketamine, marijuana, ecstasy, cocaine. Bolin's favorite drug was blunts with a sprinkle of cocaine, so she liked lace blunts. Bolin testified to working with Cassie in 2023. And in cross, they asked, well, did you guys discuss these lawsuits doing work? Bolin said that they never discussed the lawsuits doing work, but they had talked about it before she filed and after. On cross, Westmoreland tried to insinuate in questions asked of Bolin that she didn't remember a lot of the details, little minute details in the Dangled incident. Nah, she didn't remember every little piece of it because she was high too. All of them got high together. So she may not remember all the little details, every little piece of it. But yeah, she remembered him picking her up, shaking her, and probably telling her, I'll throw you off the balcony, I'll throw you over. Yes. And then throwing her down, and she probably hit a couple of chairs and fell. That sounds like something Diddy would do. He's done worse. So yeah, he beat up the best friend. Yeah, he did it. I believe it. So that completed her testimony for the day. Judge Subramanian dismissed the jurors and the rest of the court. And Bryana will be back on tomorrow to complete her testimony. Tune in for more updates as we follow the Sean Diddy Combs trial. This was day 3 of week 4 testimony, and I owe you guys the 4th day, and tomorrow is Friday. When you get this, it'll be Friday. So hopefully I have those other 2 days up as well, so I'll be caught up. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any new uploads. Take care of yourself and each other.